Santham Academy. Welcome to Digital Kaksha. To get updates on new videos, click the subscribe button and the bell icon.
Good morning, students. Hope you are enjoying our e-learning classes. We have moved forward to the fourth chapter of our political science, first part of the syllabus, that means book 1 of our political science. The book is Contemporary World Politics. In this we are studying the politics of the world. In the third chapter we are studying alternative centers of power. Alternative centers of power. We studied earlier that during the Cold War years, the world was bipolar. The system of the world had been bipolar system. Later on, by the end of the Cold War, the system has changed into a unipolar world, a unipolar system in which there is a hegemony of US, that is United States of America. But still, in the modern times, US has some limitations on exercising its powers. What are these limitations emerging in today's time? There are some alternative organizations formed in the world. These organizations are providing a challenge, they are waging a challenge against the hegemony of US. In this chapter we are going to study these alternative centers of power, these international organizations, or we can say the Union of Nations of the world. In this chapter we will study the organization named ASEAN. We will study the organization named European Union, and we will also study the emerging power as a powerful country, China, a very fast developing economy which is emerging in modern times. Towards the end of the chapter we will study the relation between China and India, because when a country is emerging as a powerful country, then it becomes important for us to study what type of relations we have with that country. So, beginning with the overview of the chapter, we know that after the end of the bipolarity, by 1990, it became clear to the world leaders that we cannot continue with such rivalry among ourselves. Structures that we have developed, we cannot continue with it. We need to have solutions, alternative solutions, so that there is peace, cooperation, and there is international give and take relation with the countries, and with that there is regional development in the world. So with that there is a need arising for making or establishing or organizing different regional institutions and organizations. By now the world leaders have thought that we need to resolve the regional rivalries and weaknesses of their economies, and for that certain institutions have been formed, certain organization of regional countries have been formed, like the European Union or EU as it is called as, and the ASEAN, that is Association of Southeast Asian Nations. They thought of resolving regional rivalries, enmities, and some regional weaknesses in their countries, and for that they needed to develop alternative institutions and conventions. The objective of forming such association was to build a peaceful, a cooperative, and an economically developed region. Also in recent times, the economic rise of China has also affected the world politics. So all these things we will study in detail in this chapter. First, let us study the organization of the European Union. By the end of the Second World War, leaders started thinking about whether to continue with the old rivalries among nations and protect themselves or make themselves very powerful, or to develop a system of cooperation and reconstruct certain institutions and form certain principles and policies which would guide the functioning of all these regional countries. And there was a need felt by these leaders to develop some positive international relations. So they have taken initiative to form such organizations. The Second World War has shattered the assumptions of socio-economic order. Whatever economic orders were there, social structure was there, it was rethought about it. It was thought that these orders we cannot continue to operate in the changing scenario. We need to do away with this system and develop a new system of cooperation and development. So then started the efforts for integration of states. So the integration of Europe was aided by the Cold War. During the Cold War, the need for integrating regional countries to develop a power center was established. Such need was established. And around that time, America has developed a Marshall Plan. Under this Marshall Plan, America provided some financial help to these countries of Europe to form their own association and develop cooperation among themselves, and with that they would have economic development. America itself has organized itself with other countries into the organization called as NATO. We have studied about it in the last chapter. NATO is the organization of North Atlantic Treaties countries. It is called as North Atlantic Treaty Organization, the organization of countries located in the North Atlantic region. So this at this forum of European Union, the Western European states, they began to cooperate with each other on certain matters of trade and economic issues. Initially, they were focused on issues of international trade and cooperation and some economic issues of economic cooperation. The US has helped them to organize and make certain policies such that they can develop a friendly and healthy international trade and cooperation. By 1949, Council of Europe was also organized, and that was organized with the objective of political cooperation. Up till now, the European Union has not been formed, but whatever organizations are being formed, they were working on economic issues, trade issues, but now slowly and gradually these organizations or these countries are shifting their attention to political issues also. So in that sequence, in 1949, Council of Europe was organized with a political objective. The objective was to develop political cooperation among these nations. So the process of economic integration of these countries continues the dimensions of their work, what way they need to cooperate with each other. In the sequence, in 1957, there was a formation of European Economic Community, a new organization formed by these countries itself, the European Economic Community. This community was formed with an objective for economic cooperation and help with each other. Further, this organization took a political dimension also. So its area of work shifted from objective of economic cooperation to the political cooperation also. And with that objective, it has formed the European Parliament, a parliament where debate and discussion is held for the issues related to common concern of these countries. It has now developed its own national flag. Just like a country's organization, now this European Union has also organized itself, okay, like a nation state. It has agreed upon its own national flag, its own national anthem, and it is celebrating its founding date. Just as we celebrate the Republic Day, they have started, the European Union countries have started celebrating their date of foundation, and they have set up their own currency. They have started working with a currency which is a common currency for all these countries. They have the common security policy also. Whatever policies they have for their own security, they have a joint policy of security. They have also expanded their area of cooperation by adding new and new members to this organization. So the region of this organization is expanding, and they are including more and more members into this organization. That way, the area of cooperation is expanding to more regions. Okay. Mostly the countries which joined this union are the former Soviet Union bloc countries. With the disintegration of Soviet Union, whichever countries are disintegrating from Russia, they are now joining the European Union one after the other. Now, let us study the achievements of European Union. Let us see how much relevant it is in the world politics now. European Union has different dimensions of its influence. It has its influence in the economic matters. It has its influence in the world in diplomatic manners. It has its influence in military dimension also. Let us study first about the economic dimension of its influence on the world. European Union is the world's largest economy. It is the biggest economy in terms of turnover, monetary turnover. That is the GDP. The GDP of European Union is more than $12 trillion as what is estimated in the year 2005. That means the total production of goods and services in European Union countries taken together comes out to be $12 trillion in the year 2005. So the GDP is largest. Currency. Let us see about the currency of European Union. Its circulation and acceptance is such wide that many a times it is thought that it is posing a threat to the relevance of the US dollar. It has wide acceptance now. More and more members of the European Union are accepting this currency to be used in their countries also, and it becomes easy for international trade when there is common currency among these countries. So with that it becomes easy. As other world countries easily accept US dollars, these member countries of European Union, they accept their euro currency very easily. So that is why it poses a threat to the US dollar also. Then the share of world trade is quite high. The European Union has a share which is 3 times larger than that of the US. That means whatever world trade the US does, it is 1/3 of the international trade being done by the European Union countries. So due to this economic power, it has a lot of influence on its neighboring countries also. Neighboring countries as well as many of the Asian countries and many of the African countries also. So it functions as an important block in the international organizations also. International organizations like the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund. In these organizations, even in the World Trade Organization, it is proving its relevance nowadays. So nowadays, it is having a bargaining position in these international organizations like the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the WTO. Okay. Also, two of its members, Britain and France, these two members are the permanent members of the UN Security Council. We have studied about the UN Security Council in other earlier classes, in the lower classes. It is the council within the United Nations organization which is responsible for promoting international peace and security. And the nuclear powers, 5 nuclear powers are its permanent members, and these permanent members have the veto power. Veto power means no decision can be taken till it is agreed upon by each and every of these 5 member countries individually. That means even one of them rejects, then the decision will not be taken. Such a power is called as a veto power. So such veto power holding countries, if we study, then 2 of its members, European Union's members, France and Britain, they are also the members of UN Security Council. That says that they have their presence or relevance, or you can say direct bearing in the decision making of the UN Security Council also. That is the biggest power it is enjoying. Then it uses diplomacy. Instead of force and military, it uses diplomacy in dealing various issues. Various issues like economic investment, like negotiations at the world forums, and transfer of technology and cooperation. In all these things, it does not use force. Then in this way, it has become very effective in dealing with the issues and powers like the emerging power of China. Okay. It can prove a challenge to the overexercise of power by the country China, because it is a fastest growing economy and emerging as a very big economy. So this emerging economy is also posing a threat to the other countries of the region, and due to that there is a need arising to balance its powers, to moderate its policies, and this European Union has now become very effective in dealing with this China. Also, it has a very big relevance nowadays at an international forum in the issues of human rights, international human rights, and in the issues of environment and environment conservation, global warming and poverty, and such social issues also, socio-economic issues also. European Union is having a relevant position in making decisions and affecting decisions of the world community. Its combined forces are second largest in the world. That means when the security forces of all these member countries of European Union, if they are combined, then they form the second largest after the United States of America. The military expenditure is also second largest after USA. Okay. We have studied in the last chapter the amount of expenditure done by USA in terms of military security, the military budget. It was $459 billion. So after this expenditure of America, European Union is the second largest country in terms of military expenditure. Then the two permanent members, that is Britain and France, these are also, as we know, the members of European Union. They have nuclear weapons. They are the nuclear powers. They have nuclear arsenal. So that also makes the European Union very powerful. They can use nuclear power when the need arises, and that shows its power. European Union has emerged as the second most important source in terms of space research, in terms of space research cooperation, for example, sharing of satellites and technology, and it has become very important in terms of communication technology also. So all these ways now the European Union has emerged as a very powerful organization in the world. Welcome back, students. Every power, every person, every hegemon has some limitations. The European Union is emerging as a challenge to the hegemony of US. It is emerging as a powerhouse, but it also has to face certain challenges or limitations. So now let us study the limitations of European Union. In many areas, the member states have their own foreign relations. Often they have foreign relations which stood against what other countries of the Union want. That means their policies are sometimes going against the policies of their own member countries. That has also seen from time to time. Then Britain. For example, Britain, a very important member country of European Union. Britain was America's partner in the operation against Iraq. You remember the operation done by the coalition of the willing? Britain was the member of this coalition of the willing, and in that it has supported America, whereas other members, France and Germany, they have opposed America in this operation. So there is a way differences of opinion and actions and policies among its own member countries. Another example, Britain's Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher. She kept the United Kingdom, that is England, out of the European market. For many years, it did not integrate its economy with the economy of European Union. Still another example to prove the challenge to its unity is the action of Denmark and Sweden. Denmark and Sweden, they have resisted from adopting euro as their currency. For many years, they do not accept the euro currency in their country. They are having their own currency and continuing with that only. All these things limits the ability of European Union to act in the manner of foreign relations and defense. There is a limitation. They cannot, the Union cannot independently act on all matters without any dispute or differences of opinion. There will always be differences of opinion on many issues related to foreign relations, trade and defense also. Further we will study different other organizations also like ASEAN. Then we will study the emerging economy of China also and the relation of China with India. For the time being, I think this much is enough for this part of the lecture. Thank you. Wish you all the best. Have a happy learning experience.
Thanks for watching. If you like this video, make sure to like, share and subscribe for more.